Welcome to the April 5th, 2018 episode of Reactive Consciousness, our in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And I got that on the very first try and didn't flub at all!
Yay! Everything's coming up vysethebold.
I didn't flub... Oh, god damn it.
You son of a...
What's really funny is sometimes I take like 5 tries to do this.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing.
Nobody else hears it but you guys. But it's not exactly the easiest line to say either. It's one of those...
it's a bit of a it could be a bit of a tongue twister if you say it fast.
This week will leak in our wives.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Nah, man, that ain't me. No Pyro and Old Man Stompy or Minty Mitts this time around. They are all having fun without us. But this week we wanted to talk about our holiday weekend. So you being of Jewish descent celebrate Passover?
Yes, indeed.
So how was the Seder?
We tend to do a pretty abbreviated Seder. Like, with us, it's more of an excuse for the family to get together and have dinner. Like, it's a Passover-themed dinner, but, like, we're not devoutly religious, so, like, we'll say a few prayers and we'll have kosher food, but it's like, let's talk and eat, and it's pretty nice. So we did this over at my cousin's place. Or, no, actually, that's not true. My aunt and uncle's place, because, they have since changed locations.
You and I hang out a lot and we get dinner a lot together. And you're not kosher at all.
Yeah, I don't keep kosher, but I mean, like, we'll have kosher food for Passover. We're not going to eat pork on Passover. Like, even though we all eat pork, like...
I was gonna say, like, you're like, if there's a big rack of baby rack ribs, you're in first in line.
No, I mean, sure, but like, if you're celebrating Passover, like, if you're not gonna keep kosher, then it's just you're not even celebrating Passover. You're just coincidentally having dinner on what happens to be Passover. It's
no, you should at least try.
Yeah, but, we have the window dressings for it, pretty much.
I was gonna ask you. I've never really seen you eat like Jewish food. Like, do you like anything?
I mean, it's not like hardcore Jewish food. Like, I mean, there's like brisket, which is delicious.
I love brisket. Yeah, everybody loves brisket.
Gold. Yeah. The funny thing is, even though anybody who's like a hardcore barbecue nerd probably knows what brisket is, it's still typically a Jewish food. Like, I remember there was a really old Simpsons episode where Krusty the Clown is just doing his show, and all of a sudden he just stops mid-speech and he goes, "Oh, that brisket isn't sitting right," and just instantly you're like, he's Jewish. It's just like that's the joke. I can't believe it was Homer's voice. But yeah, so like there's brisket, there's green beans, sometimes there's turkey. Like, it's good stuff. And matzah, like the plainest of the plain breads, doesn't even have yeast. That's how plain it is.
Isn't that the point of matzah, is to make you like be thankful for the luxuries you have?
That's exactly what it is. A lot of like the whole point of Passover is remembering the slaves' escape from Egypt and being aware of what life was like for them symbolically. And isn't it cool that we can do whatever we want now? So like, on one hand, it's like this, like, these bitter herbs represent the bitterness of the slaves, and stuff like that. But then at the same time,
aren't there like 6 things you're supposed?
There's a bunch of stuff on the Seder plate. We don't eat them; they're on the plate. I mean, you will take part with the bitter herbs though. So there is stuff you'll eat, but you won't eat like the shank bone or the hard boiled egg. Or I forget if it's hard boiled, but whatever. But but then there's also like, I mean, we don't go this far, but like you would put like pillows on your chair, because it's like, normally we don't recline on our chairs, but tonight, like, we're going to go out of our way to do that just as a counterpoint to what life was like thousands of years ago, that kind of thing.
Sure.
So, a lot of Passover is symbolic, but it's an excuse to just like hang out with your family. By the way, do you know why it was called why the holiday is called Passover.
Was it because of something too Jewish?
Actually, yes.
Yeah,
I get your reference, but too Jewish.
Yeah, so it wasn't it about killing the firstborn?
Yeah, it was
son?
it was the 10th plague.
Yeah.
But the thing was,
lamb's blood on the door, or something like that.
Bingo. Yeah. So the 10th plague, even though it was an angel sent out to slay the firstborn, apparently he wasn't fucking good at his job. Like, he just didn't discriminate. Like, he went and took out every firstborn. So you were supposed to put lamb's blood on your door to be like, not this house. So
why was he fooled by that?
Pass over, you know?
Why was he fooled by lamb's blood?
No, he wasn't fooled by it. I think it was just a signal, like, not me. So he would be like, oh, okay, I'll go somewhere else. Like, it was
we made a sacrifice to God. Like, we're cool now. Like, is that what that means?
I think it was pretty much just like to let them know it was a Jewish household. Like,
oh
yeah, like, yeah, you weren't tricking one of God's angels. That seems awfully like not worthy of worship at that point.
Well, God is omniscient, but not.
That's the whole thing.
Not the angels. But,
not the angel, but like when God says kill all the Egyptian firstborn, like you'd think he'd know what to do. So like like you see letting him know like we're cool. So
gotcha.
that was that. So like if you were paying attention back then you would not have your firstborn slayed. Otherwise, boy, would your face be red.
So would your door.
So would the firstborns, I'm sure. So
Ugh.
What? Hey, come on. Tough crowd. So jeez. But anyway, yeah, so Passover is pretty much just a good time to hang out with my aunt and uncle and cousins. I love hanging out with my like my cousins and like their instant family, my aunt and uncle. Like it's a good time. Like nice. I'm not really a family gathering person, but like I really enjoy hanging out with my cousins. Like our personalities really kind of line up, especially the younger cousin who's like 1 year younger than me. Like we're kind of similar in our like senses of humor and stuff. It's good times.
Nice. Well, on my end, I had Easter. And very much like you, my family's not very religious. My dad is a recovering Catholic, which is to say he was a Catholic and now isn't one. He grew up in Catholic school, and the nuns beat the crap out of him, so he
maybe
heart.
I don't like this.
Yeah.
It was like this one stand-up comedian. I don't remember who it was, but it's like people come up to me and say, you went to Catholic school for 10 or 12 years or whatever. How come you're not Catholic? And he's like, because I went to Catholic school for however many years.
Well, that's the old Lewis Black joke, too. He's just like, I'm an atheist because I was raised Jewish. But, same kind of thing. My mom and he made always had me raised, they wanted me to make my own decision.
Yeah.
So
my parents are pretty hands off as well.
My mom wanted me to. My mom grew up as a Quaker, which isn't a very well known religion. So and isn't really a practicing one or anything like that. If anybody ever asks, I always say I'm a Quaker because I kind of like their ideals, but not in the least strict sense. But anyway, I'm not going to get into what a Quaker is or anything like that. But anyway, we celebrate Easter because all the family does. You know what I mean? It's a family.
That's the thing. Like it's an excuse for the family to get together, and it's a good time.
So my mom's best friend, who might as well be an aunt to me. She's always been there ever since before both me and my older brother were born, and she's my mom's best friend, and we're basically her family. She doesn't have any children of her own. She doesn't have a husband. She doesn't have her parents anymore. So we spend a lot of time with her during the holidays. And she belongs to a country club, and she invited me and my girlfriend along with my parents. And we got to visit with her, and man, we had a good time. We brightened up her her holiday season, I think, a lot.
So who found the most Easter eggs?
You know what we didn't do the Easter egg hunt this year. Last year she actually hid some Cadbury eggs all over her house, which was kind of fun.
Oh, get the hell out. That's awesome.
Yeah, they were the mini ones too. I like the mini ones better because I get sick of eating a Cadbury egg like halfway through it.
See, in Passover we just hide the afikomen, and it's fun, but it's not as fun.
Yep.
Would it be funnier if I just don't tell anybody what the afikomen is? Like they actually
is that
had
near
that
the Amalfi Coast. Is that what that is?
Yeah, no, they actually had a moment like that on the back when Stephen Colbert did the Colbert Report. Like he was making some joke where like these two, it was religions or ethnicities, just like a message just wouldn't translate properly, and he had dropped a line like that would be like asking Osama bin Laden to help you find the afikomen, and just like crickets in the audience, and he was like, ask your Jewish friends, and like that was way funnier to me than if the joke had actually landed. It was like hysterical.
They probably expected that's what the reaction would be.
Wait, they're in fucking New York. Do you really not have one Jew in the Colbert Report? Get the hell out. So meanwhile, I'm at home. I'm like, that's hilarious. Like the joke was okay, but the dead response was even funnier.
What's even funnier to me is like Stephen Colbert is a devout Catholic, so like
yeah, that was kind of a little out there for him. So like that was just super funny to me. Like it was even funnier that the joke didn't work, and Colbert recovered pretty well. But I'm like, it's just funny that he makes a joke that like only I get. Like, it was great.
So yeah, we had a good time, and we spent time at her special buffet at her country club. So we had a really great time there. The food was amazing, and really enjoyed our company. And my girlfriend, this was like the first Easter we really spent together, because last year we didn't really spend Easter together. We kind of did our own thing. So this year we did the same things, and we also went to my cousin's afterwards, which was always a good time. I have the cousins on my dad's side, so we just had a good time. Nice. It was a good day, and then at the end of the day, I came home and I applied for jobs.
Yeah, crashing back into reality.
Cracking good time.
Yeah.
But
sounds like you had egg on your face.
No eggs for me.
The yolk's on you.
So, having said that, it was also April Fool's Day.
There were some pretty good little gags.
So, what were your favorites here? Actually, so I have to say, before we get going on this, I have to say that the maturity in which April Fool's is celebrated is now a lot better than it used to be. And here's what I'll say.
Even this year and last year, I think were better. Like, because a lot of people just were like, a celebrity died. April Fools. It's like, no, they're supposed to be like pranks and good fun, not just lying and taking it back.
So that's what I'm saying about this. A lot of times, like maybe about like 5 years ago or so, a lot of things were mean-spirited, or like it might be something that you actually wanted to happen and was announced, and then like quickly people were like, April Fools, and you'd be like, you motherfucker, like
yeah.
But now it's always very obvious that it's an April Fool's Day joke.
But yeah, like, and it's still funny. Like I saw a gag that
it's more like an Onion article, like, you know what I mean? Like
like it was
goofy
like
in tone.
I saw something on Facebook. It wasn't from Capcom itself, I don't think, but it was from like a Mega Man Facebook group that were like they were going to release a new like Robot Masters dating sim, which was kind of funny. And someone I saw had commented on it, and they're like, you could tell this is April Fool's because Capcom would otherwise be doing something with Mega Man, and it's like, ooh, too real. But I saw some pretty good stuff. Yeah.
I just like that it's now very easy to tell, and it's like it like it's an April Fool's Day joke. So in the fact that it's silly, it's more mature, because like they want you to just enjoy the April
goofy
Fool's
stuff
of it. Yeah,
Like
exactly.
one of my favorites was actually from last year. Udon Comics. They got popular doing the Street Fighter stuff. I remember last year they had released a cover, like they made cover art for it and everything, of Street Fighter the movie, the comic. I was like, yes.
That's amazing.
I'd buy that. But for this year, I saw 3 things, I guess, that got me. One was actually, I think it was GameSpot did their own steamed hams video, and it was the whole video was pretty much straight, except it was just Jeff Goldblum reading Skinner's lines, and it was just kind of funny. Every once in a while, it would just cut to him in the studio reading the lines. Yes.
For I think the press tour for I think it's Jurassic World 2. Jeff Goldblum has been like doing a bunch of interviews, and he's been playing along with a lot of like the nerd websites and stuff like that.
Yeah, he sounds pretty entertaining with that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So along with that, he also read a bunch of famous video game lines. So he did the Jill sandwich line. He did.
Oh, I gotta see that.
He's just like they also like gave the lines to him with no context. So he's reading, "All your base art belong to us." It sounds like there's some syntax issues here. It's just
he did that at the very end of the Simpsons bit, where like Aurora Borealis, like, can I see it? No. And like after the bit, he was just like, what is this from? And they're like, it's an old Simpsons bit. And he's like, oh yeah, they're really funny over there. It was just kind of funny.
Oh yeah, there are need slappers right over there.
It's anyway. So like Jeff Goldblum just sounds like a lot of fun. I'm also reminded of when Gilbert
Gottfried.
Gilbert Gottfried was reading a bunch of video game lines. Hey, listen! It's like, oh.
He's like doing it basically as Iago.
Yeah, like in Shadow of the Colossus. Aggro! Like, you got all the superior genes. I got the recessive genes. Les enfants terribles. I'm like, oh god. It was fantastic.
That is really good. You can basically take anything from Metal Gear Solid 2 onward.
It's like... so serious. And that was from 1.
That was from... Well,
no, it was Liquid.
It
was like his final speech. It was so good. But some other gags I saw this year, there were 2 that kind of got me. One of them, do you remember way back, you might have even contributed to Kickstarter, I don't know, but the Castlevania creator, Koji Igarashi, you know how he's working on a new game, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night?
Sure, it's like his spiritual successor.
Yeah, exactly. It's a not Castlevania game that looks really cool.
He calls it an Igavania.
What?
He calls it an Igavania.
It's so good. But that project releases monthly updates on Kickstarter. Like, hey guys, here's some tweaking we're doing for the game. Here's some fan art we want to shout out, And the April Fool's one was, hey guys, there's a new feature, like a new mechanic we're adding to the game. You can actually mine for cryptocurrency. It's like, what? Like, how? What? It's so dumb.
Pretty good. Yeah,
like,
that's pretty good.
Like in a fucking Castlevania game. The other thing that really got me, it was obviously fake, but it was so stupid it made me actually laugh out loud, was it was in the Silent Hill group. There's a website called Rely on Horror, and it was shouting out like that there's like a teaser for like concept art for what would be another Silent Hill game, and like it's a little hard to describe. Like you know how when you take a picture and you flip it horizontally but keep the original, it looks like a character sticking out of himself. He's facing like both directions. So Pyramid Head looked like that, and there was like the title of the article said something like concept art teases like a new Silent Hill game with a double Pyramid Head. I'm like, that's so fucking dumb. Like double Pyramid Head. Like, it was really funny to me. Like, come on. It was fantastic.
Well, there were already 2 Pyramid Heads, but
but you just double like just something putting double in front of it just made it really goofy. Like, no, you thought Pyramid Head was bad. It's scary. Double Pyramid Head. Like, oh, like, what? It was and it was the movie Pyramid Head too, so it like really made no sense.
So I had 2 favorites. First of all was Sega's. I don't know whether you saw this or not.
No.
Sega's was the best. So they actually followed up on this. Like, you can actually participate in it.
Oh.
You can buy Sonic merchandise for a whole week. You could buy
Honestly,
Sonic
I wouldn't even have known that was an April
merchandise.
Fool's gag. Like, they put that in Sonic Forces. You can customize.
Yeah,
it's a
but you could
wearable
buy
item.
a Sonic shirt, you could buy a Sonic mug, like you could buy actual Sonic
Oh,
like
that's
memorabilia.
great.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like official Sonic memorabilia.
That's so good.
Yeah, no, Sega's been locking it out of the park with their fan service rate.
It's really funny because they can't make good Sonic games to save their life, but they seem to really be on the pulse for the Sonic fans anyway.
It's my feeling that everybody but Sega's internal development is
Like everybody but
involved at
Sonic
Sega.
Team.
Yeah, everybody but Sonic Team like knows what they're doing.
Like
they just don't.
Like, you know, it's one of those cases like, you don't like our game? Let's see you make a better one. And immediately, like, okay. Sonic Mania, done. Did it.
Yeah, and then there's so Adult Swim is always the showcase of April Fools. They do it the best. So one of the things that they originally did, I'll just name a couple. One of the things that they did was just show the room instead of like what they were normally going to show.
But there were like the sex scenes had like censor bars to the point where like you couldn't watch the scene.
it almost the entire almost all of Tommy is blocked out.
Yeah, like what's funny is that there's Tommy's ass, but otherwise that's really it. There's no actual like, oh, I can't watch this on TV. Like there's no actual need to censor anything, and like everything was censored.
No, his entire body, which is what's hilarious. And they expand and contract too. It's not like a normal censor bar, you know, that's kind of just floating there.
Yeah, they put
it,
like editing.
Expands and contracts.
That's
like,
great.
It's so funny. In fact, that's my favorite version of the room, just because it's so funny.
It keeps you occupied during that same exact fucking scene twice in the same movie.
It's great. But one year they had just released was it Aqua Teen :
oh yeah, the movie, wasn't it?
The movie, yeah. So I think they had released it like 2 days before. Like it was still in the theater. Like it had just been released. Yeah. They were like, "Okay, we're going to release. We're going to show it on TV," and people were like, "What are you talking about? You there's no way you're doing that. You're just gonna say April Fools." Like they had actually told people they were gonna broadcast it.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, they did broadcast it. It was just in a stamp-sized.
Yeah, like you basically can't watch
screen, like in the corner of whatever show you were watching. And, apparently, if you turned it on like the Spanish language like option on your TV, you could hear it.
Okay.
So they did broadcast the audio for it as
wow.
well. You just needed to find it. So last year was one of the coolest ones. Of course, they had released the first episode of the third season of Rick and Morty and didn't telegraph it at all.
Yeah, and they streamed it like, and because you're not going to catch that, so like they streamed it like all day.
So this year they did a couple things. So first of all, the fate of Rick and Morty has been up in the air, and there was a lot of talk about it, of course, because Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon hadn't been getting along during the third season. The writing of the third season, and they're both crazy people, so like we knew this was going to happen at some point. They're both self-destructive crazy people, but they're geniuses, you know.
Yeah. So
it's amazing that they can still, you know, work it out. So Dan Harmon, like a couple days ago, had basically just said, you know what, somebody had called him out on Twitter and said, hey, you know, somebody had called him like a lazy person for not working on season 4.
Oh, I saw this, yeah.
And he's just like, well, that's really interesting considering they haven't even ordered it yet.
Yeah.
It's like, how can I be lazy if I haven't even like gotten the money to work on it? Like,
yeah.
And then like 2 days ago, you know, on the last day of March, he basically said, "Oh yeah, we're going to release the first episode of season 4 on Adult Swim." It was kind of unplanned, but and people were like, "Okay, well, this might be something that might actually be happening," and then of course it wasn't. Instead, you got like this weird. I didn't see this, but apparently this like super jail-esque version of Rick and Morty.
Yeah, I only saw screenshots, and it's like.
What
intentionally
the hell is
like goofy like drawing, and it's just like what
you wanted Rick and Morty, well, too bad. This is like not what you wanted.
Yep.
But apparently they did announce that I think it's going to be released in 2019.
So there is going to be a season 4.
That's what I had seen. That's what Polygon said. So
and it's a long wait, but I mean it was a long wait last time.
Yeah. So they're working on it. I mean, just like all of their best shows take forever.
Yeah.
So and that's because they give them a lot of creative license. Like Venture Brothers comes out when it wants to.
Oh my god!
Always has.
I know.
And always has. Boondocks kind of faded away. Maybe it might come back someday. You know, that kind of thing. So
yeah.
All their best shows have always been had a basically it's done when it's done kind of attitude. So
yeah.
For better or for worse. I mean, I think in retrospect, your people are going to be glad that.
That's the thing. When you buy the DVDs or the Blu-ray, or you watch it on Netflix, you're like, oh, look at all these good episodes in a row I can watch. Whereas like with anime like One Piece, I watch it every week, but if I binged it, I would hate myself because like the pacing for later episodes is just awful.
Yeah. Well, that goes without saying.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all the best ones that I saw. Now, I did want to bring up. I said I would talk a little bit more about Punch Out. So on the Switch. So I am going to. We talked a lot about it, but I can't exaggerate how much. I love that all of these arcade ports are coming out. I think one of the biggest shames is that we have to, like, there are so many arcade games that you have to emulate on MAME. MAME is a pain in the ass, and emulating a lot of the emulation for them is very piss poor.
Well, yeah, I remember actually, like, they had released an ISO, like, at long last, last year, of, like, an incomplete build of Primal Rage 2, but, like, it only worked on this specific older version of MAME. Like, I was like, I'll just download it and play it. Nope. Like, I had to go find, like, version whatever of MAME.
MAME is a big pain in the ass. In fact, there are special versions of MAME that can play, like,
games.
Games that regular MAME can't play. And there'll be, like, notable games that you would have wanted to play. Like, Tau Plan, which is a company that made, like, a lot of the best shmups, and kind of like, eventually were people that graduated to be in Cave, which
that was them, yeah.
Yeah, Tau Plan, it was one of the original companies that made that a lot of the people got their start at. So you would want to play some of these games. A lot of them don't have working sound in MAME. Like, their sound just doesn't fucking work.
That's frustrating.
So you need to download a special version of MAME. So the reason why it doesn't work in MAME is because they haven't figured out how to dump the sounds properly. Mm-hmm. So what the special version of MAME does is it basically plays a wave file every time you shoot.
Oh, wow.
It basically
that's
does
clever.
That. You have to download basically a whole a sound pack that, like,
that's ridiculous.
Essentially, like, knows to play those clips
Unreal.
Every time you do something. Yeah, it's nuts. But anyway, regular MAME would never allow you to do that because they strive for accuracy, right?
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, you wouldn't be able to play the game with any sound.
Yeah.
So anyway, I did want to go over the Hamster games that I've really been enjoying. So Hamster has been creating arcade conversions ever since the PS1 days, as far as I know. They did some early ones, and they did Raiden DX for the original PlayStation. So they've been porting arcade games for a very long time, and on PS2 they were pretty famous for releasing games, single arcade games on PS2 discs. They were cheap, but too expensive for a single game, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, like, so, I mean, well, it's like, for example, the Taito collection you have, right? That's like $25 for like 15 games. Like, imagine if you had to pay 15 for one of those. It's like,
that's exactly it. Yeah.
You're like, I don't know.
I think they were 800. Was it 1,800 yen, which is $18, 18 to $20. So,
remember that arcade games are supposed to be beaten in like maybe an hour, probably less. They're supposed to take your money, not your time. So $18 for that, it's like, oh.
Yeah. And not only that, but a lot of them are balls hard, and like they didn't put any frills into them. They didn't add many extra features. So they were most famous for basically releasing Haunted Castle on PS2. You know, the Castlevania arcade game, which is garbage. And
the shame of it is it looks gorgeous and it plays all right. It's just like
it's garbage.
Like, it's hard to the point of being funny. It's like, you can't be serious with this shit. Like, it's one of those cases. There's this one anime called Kaiji. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it.
It's a gambling anime, and like the final boss of one of the arcs was this pachinko machine where it has like 1,000 different extremely subtle ways of both preventing cheating but also kind of cheating itself. But toward the end, when the main character looks like he was going to get one of the metal balls into the prize slot, they're like, fuck it, activate the final failsafe, where it's just like a stream of air that blows out of the hole. So like if you're looking closely, you could see the ball get blown away. And one of the casino workers is like, isn't that like, we stopped doing that because it's too obvious. And he's like, fuck it, like my life is on the line. But like, that's like Haunted Castle. It's like, it looks like it was set to be too hard. Like, it looks like the house is against you. Yeah, it's like, dude, come on.
The only way to beat that game is to know it to a T.
Basically to get poor playing it.
Well, the only way to beat that game is by practice, and it's from memorization, not from skill.
Yeah.
So anyway, you buy that kind of thing just if you want all the Castlevania games, you know, or the novelty of the arcade Castlevania game that nobody knows about, you know.
Yeah.
They released a lot of other obscure Konami games from that era. I'm not a big fan of that era of Konami arcade games. In my opinion, it didn't really get good with Konami games until like the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game.
That was a good one.
Well, from there they started making a lot of other great arcade games. Before that, I mean, you know, people can point out Contra, but I actually don't like the arcade version of Contra. I love Contra. I love Contra games. Contra and Super C are hard as balls, and not in a good way. They're designed poorly, and they didn't get good until they were on the NES. I kind of only have the arcade versions because, you know, out of devotion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like to play another Contra game that I haven't played a lot of, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I did want to go... Hamster started really hitting their stride when they started releasing games for the PS4. Now, they were one of the first third parties to release games on PSN. So they started off by releasing a lot of obscure arcade games, like Mr. Goemon, the first Goemon game from Konami. You know, stuff like that.
Back when he still looked like an Edo painting.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus.
The original Rygar, for instance. So, you know, some early Tecmo and Konami stuff. Not even stuff that you would really want quite yet.
It's just more on principle, like, well, I can't say they haven't ported it.
Exactly. But then they started releasing SNK games, you know, things for the Neo Geo.
Yeah.
And those started, like, really taking off. And then they started releasing them for Switch, and they really fucking took off.
Oh, man,
yeah. So, like, the ones on... and it's, like, the perfect platform. I mean, playing arcade-perfect Neo Geo games, like, wherever you feel like... Like, arcade games are perfect for portable systems. They're just perfect. So,
especially Neo Geo, because they're fighting games. Just play around and put it away, you know?
Yeah. I basically have a lot of the shmups. I just kind of wanted to go over the ones that I've bought so far for the Switch, and I'm really enjoying. I just wanted to share. Now, I talked about how much I love Contra. I'm a big fan of anything like that. I love run and gun games, and the big one of the big run and gun games, other than Metal Slug, which is a given, are the two Shock Trooper games for Neo Geo, and I love those games.
Not as well known, but they are quite good.
Yeah, they're basically like the overhead levels of Contra. Or they're kind of like Mercs or Commando. Or
we had mentioned this last time. They don't do the rotating camera thing like Contra, but they're like Jackal, except you're on foot.
Exactly. And let me see what else. I also have Polestar and Blazing Star, which are sequels to each other, or part of the same series.
Sure.
They're both shmups. One of them's like R-Type, the other one's more of a traditional horizontal shmup. I also picked up Aero Fighters 2 and 3. I kind of mentioned those a little while ago. They're really great for their outlandish quotes and like the characters.
With, like,
you could
the dolphin and stuff.
Yeah, you could be a dolphin, you could be a ninja, you can be a robot man. Like some of them are really great, and the stuff they say is ridiculous in between. But the shmups themselves are really fun. Then I picked up Mark of Wolves because devotion, man. I love that game.
Gotta get that Mark of Wolves.
Also, like having Mark of Wolves where I can bust it out whenever I want and have a friend play with me, like in kickstand mode.
Yeah.
Like that's just an amazing thing. Like one of the best fighters of all time. A lot of people consider it maybe like the like top 3 fighting games of all time. It's right there,
And reason number 1 and 2 of why it's the top 3 games, Kushnude butt.
God damn it. He's the character I play as too, which is the funny thing.
Nice. Good taste.
Not because of his name. But they also have other Arcade Archives games on here. So there's some. So this one's kind of obscure, but I liked this game a lot when I was a kid. It's a Data East game called Kid Nicky. Have you ever heard of this?
That sounds familiar. What is it?
So there was an NES port of this arcade game. Essentially, you're this little you're a ninja in this colorful world, and you basically have a spinning sword.
Okay.
And it's just fun. It's a fun platformer, and you hit enemies with your spinning sword.
Okay.
And it has a catchy jingle and all that, and it kind of looks like little South Park characters. They kind of look like they're like cut out. Almost, and I had never really played the arcade version because I didn't even know there was an arcade version when I was a kid. So,
yeah.
This got released on the Switch, so I was like, God damn, I'll pick that up.
Sure.
I also picked up the original Double Dragon, more out of devotion than anything. Like the original Double Dragon on arcade is balls hard.
Yeah.
And I actually like a lot of the ports of it a lot better than the actual game itself, the arcade game. It's kind of like Contra. Like I picked this up because I want to kick a Bobo's ass, but that's
Yes, as far as we'll take that. Yeah.
But where else am I going to be able to play an arcade perfect version of Double Dragon? Not too many other places.
Yeah.
And then they started releasing Nintendo games. I just think this is great, and I never expected this. Of course, the first one that they released was the original Mario Brothers.
Right.
I love that game. I have a lot of fun, especially playing that game 2-player. It's a really good game to get combos in, and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say, just for clarification, Mario Brothers.
Yes,
arcade
Mario Brothers.
Not Super Mario Brothers. So like da 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 da.
No.
Not that one. Yeah, no, it's the one where you're like in the pipes on either side.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it's
you're
a single
in like
screen
a
game. It's a single screen game. Actually, not too unlike Bubble Bobble or something like that. You have a bunch of enemies come out of pipes. And you as Mario and Luigi basically have to get below the platform that all of the enemies are on, and basically knock into the platform that they're on to knock them over in order to basically get them on their back so you can go up there and kick them.
Yeah, the original Mario Brothers was where the POW blocks came from, right?
Exactly, yeah. So the POW blocks were reintroduced in Mario 2.
Yes, yeah.
And also Mario 3. So Mario 3 actually had the original Mario Brothers as a minigame. You could always play it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So actually the original Mario Brothers was included as a mini game in a lot of of the GBA Mario games as well.
Okay.
Or like a remake of it. So that's a lot of fun. I really enjoy those games. It's best 2-player though. It really is. And then they released a really kind of odd choice. And I'll tell you why. They released Versus Super Mario Brothers. Have you ever heard of this?
I'm not sure, because it sounds like a common enough title where it's like I've heard those words before, so maybe, but I can't guarantee that.
So Nintendo released in arcades the Versus line of games, which were basically like the Famicom game or NES version of the game, but with added features that were added for the arcade. So therefore, there was Versus. Probably the most famous one is Versus Duck Hunt. So Versus Duck Hunt has a bonus game where you could shoot the dog.
Get the hell out!
Yeah. So that one's pretty famous.
People have been wishing for that for like 30 years, and that was just there the whole time.
So yeah. There's a bonus game in between rounds where they release a whole bunch of ducks, and you have to shoot all the ducks. But you can also shoot the dog, and it takes away points, but it's fun. You know what
that almost reminds me of is like of all things in the world, the demo of Ico or Eco, however you say it, because the gimmick with that game is you have to lead the girl Yorda around, and she doesn't have the jumping capability that you do. So you're supposed to jump to a ledge that's a little far out, and if it's close enough for her to jump, but like far enough for her to jump on her own, then she'll jump and not quite make the ledge, and you like grab her by the hand and you pull her up. But in the demo, you had the ability to let go. And she just dies and you lose. That was removed from the later game, the final product, probably because it's dark, but also because it's just a pain in the ass. It's just a button you have to hold down. It's just like, let's just play the game, please.
Yep.
But it just reminds me of that. It's like, you shouldn't do this, but did you know that you could? Yeah.
Well, Versus Super Mario Brothers is like Super Mario Brothers, but the layout's all different and it's a lot more challenging. Huh. So the funny thing about this is that they released this way before releasing the NES version of Super Mario Brothers on the Switch. So there are going to be people that have no idea that this is a different game.
Oh, okay.
Purchase this because it's the only Super Mario Brothers that's on the store right now.
That's kind of funny.
So it better have a big freaking warning on the eShop. This is not the Super Mario Brothers that you know from NES. It also handles differently. It controls differently. And that's one of those things that's ingrained in people's minds, how the original Mario Brothers feels and how the physics work.
Yeah.
So like immediately you will know something's off.
Mm-hmm.
I bought it because the novelty of buying it, I guess.
Yeah, and by the way, just for the record, like, maybe I'm wasting my time here. Like, this might be obvious to some people, but regarding like the physics of Mario, like, you can kind of feel how a character plays. Like, my go-to example of this is play a bunch of Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Like, play for like an hour, and then play Melee. Yep. Like, your characters will feel different. They will feel like rocks in Melee.
I'm not a big fan of the way Melee feels. I know a lot of people.
I loved the way Melee felt, but then I played Brawl and I was like, everything's so floaty. And then when I went back to Melee, I was like, okay, they're heavier than I remember. Like, it's pretty intense.
I actually like the original and Brawl better than Melee, but that's just me. I actually think that the newest one is the best one. But
I agree. I don't agree with your first statement, but I agree with your I like the Wii U version the best. I'm not. Except for the cast of characters, I'm not overly big on Brawl. Like, you just feel really floaty in that game.
Brawl had the best features of any of the games. It had the most robust story mode. That's why I like it. And I also like the guest characters. I thought Snake was an awesome guest character.
That was ridiculous. Solid Snake.
He's a lot of fun to play as, too. I love placing the C4 and then like people forgetting about it and then setting it off.
His like little Easter egg codec conversations.
I love that, and I also love his Smash Ball. His Smash Ball attack is fun. You just like basically it's like a light gun game. You're just shooting,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, from the helicopter.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of fun. I really and also like flying around on the drone is your third jump too. It's just so much fun.
Also, his level, like with the wrecks in the
Yeah.
background, and like you can select the boss theme from Metal Gear Solid 2, like Yell Dead Cell, which is amazing background music for a Smash Brothers game. It's like, yeah.
So other than that and the one player mode, I would, and all the extra stuff, I would say that the gameplay isn't as good, but it won me over with its presentation.
For sure. Yeah.
But I think the newest one is the best one. So anyway,
Yeah.
And the final one, of course, is Punch Out. So I plan to buy many of these other hamster games as they come out. I'm not buying every single one. Maybe I might have on my wish list like all the Konami ones just because, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely going to buy all the Nintendo ones because like I hardly ever think that they will allow this to happen a second time either. You know what I mean? Like this is a rare event that Nintendo allows you to buy their arcade games.
It makes me think of this isn't for the same reasons at all, but this makes me think of like getting away with finally selling Mega Man Legends on PSN.
Yeah,
because they had to jump through copyright hoops to make that happen.
Like, I have Suikoden too. Like, I have a physical copy of it, but I bought it when it came out on PSN because, like, goddamn, they went through so much to put that on there. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
But I mean, particularly Mega Man Legends, because, like, do you know why they couldn't put it on before?
It was because of an advertisement.
Yeah, because, like, Sony has a rule where they're not allowed to alter their game's content for re-release. So if they don't get permission from that like drink company or whatever to show their ad, then they couldn't do it. So they finally did. You know, it's like Yakuza. Can you fucking imagine?
There's so many brand names in that.
Yeah, on like the PlayStation 7, like let's re-release Yakuza 5. Like, oh my god, there is an insane number of brand names in that game. Like, good luck.
That's why I don't like playing new versions of Crazy Taxi. They may look better, but they don't have the music, and they don't
Offspring,
have like Pizza Hut and like all the goofy signs and
Offspring, stuff. Like, that's why I don't play American Mario Kart 64. There's no fake Marlboro heads.
But you know, like that's part of what
made
Crazy
Offspring
Taxi
really
so great is the giant fuck off Pizza Hut signs and stuff. You know,
I was just thinking the Offspring soundtrack, like
exactly. Yeah.
It's just. Even though it is Crazy Taxi without the music, it's really not.
It's not.
It would be like Tony Hawk.
Offspring.
It would be like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, like 2 or 3, or whichever one had like. I think 2 had Spider-Man. Like one of them had fucking Shrek. It's like you gotta have Shrek if you're what? Darth Maul
was in one of them.
Get out of here.
So anyway, I will keep people updated, but those are just some good ones to look out for. I mean, there's some other ones coming out like City Connection and Bump and Jump I think are coming out soon. There are others that are coming, and I think as time goes on they'll release more and more complicated ones. I hope they'll kind of graduate as time goes on because they're really going through a lot of early 80s stuff. And early 80s arcade games are like, except for like the really big like classics, you know, like Pac-Man and stuff like that. They don't get arcade games don't get really good until like late 80s, early 90s, if you ask me. So
even though this is well after that, I'm still waiting for an official port of Virtua Cop 3.
Oh, jeez.
And by the way, I would freaking like have you heard about like they're making apparently another House of the Dead game? Like release that shit on home consoles like immediately, please.
Yeah, well, there's even one that we never got on home consoles to begin with.
That's true.
It's like an anime,
like it's like an EX one or something. Like that?
Yeah, it's like a goofy one.
Yeah.
But I digress.
And by the way, even though there's no goddamn point, like nobody would do this, could we please get Typing of the Dead 2, which was on House of the Dead 3? Could we get that, please?
Yeah.
I would like that. That'd be
Lotus,
great.
Lotus is the only person who wants this.
Yep, pretty much.
So,
I want to type my way through House of the Dead 3. Yeah.
So I know you wanted to follow up on this recent event.
Here's the thing about this. I'm sorry I cut you off here, but...
all I was doing was an intro. Last week you had commented on this ad nauseum, but I think there has been some new developments. Is that what happened here?
Yes.
Okay.
So, okay, here's the thing. Last week, I had talked about how I was stepping down from Channel Awesome, but on Reactive, I, like, hinted at the fact that there was. I didn't tell what was going on, but, like, bad stuff has gone on behind the scenes in Channel Awesome. I said that in so many words. Now, what I had also mentioned was that the producers were trying to collect their anecdotes and grievances and observations in a Google Doc. And I had said at the time, I don't know if they just want to hold on to it so they have it, or if they're going to release it, or if they're going to send it to a particular person, or what. All I knew is that they were making the doc. A few days after, I found out that they had plans to release it. So, here's the thing. We're recording, like, you're going to hear this on Thursday, I guess, but we're recording this on Monday. Normally we record on Sundays, but we were kind of all just burned out from like the weekend. Yeah, the holiday. So we were like, let's do Monday. Well, it's a good thing we did Monday, because this is when shit actually went down, like today. So Monday, April 2nd was the day that they just released the Google Doc to Twitter, and you could probably find it elsewhere. And whoa boy. So at this point, I had said that, there's information there that I know, and you could find stuff on Twitter, but I'm not, like, because the Twitter thread went on for literally 48 hours, I'm not going to fucking sort through the Google Doc and the Twitter conversation, see which is where, so I know what to say and what not to say. Well, guess what? Now it's all out there, so you can, read the Google Doc. And by the way, I suggest you get out your bunny slippers, a drink, and a pipe, because just real quick, I'm not going to belabor this. Vice, how long do you think the Google Doc is?
I can't. It has to be fuck off long if you're pointing this out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you this. It's not hundreds of pages or fucking like.
A list of grievances should take you half a page. Like
oh, it should. Oh, it should. Oh, it fucking should.
Should be like a bullet, a few bullet points, and then that's it.
There are bullet points, and there are some paragraphs, like because different contributors posted, like, this is my story. So there's a bunch of people posting their issues. So, like, I mean, an issue was like, he was mean. Like, they could have written that, but like, like they're writing like descriptions, so it's gonna take longer. So how long do you think it is, Vice?
Was it 20 pages?
I'll give you one more guess.
30 pages.
65.
God damn it. What is in this?
You can find out right now. So there's a lot, and it's not fun. I mean, if you're into drama, there are parts of it you might find like, ooh, but like there's some stuff that's just like just distasteful. So there's a lot of stuff going on. So this has been released to Twitter, and
I'm sure there's a lot of like ball in there too.
I mean,
or is it legitimate stuff? Huh?
I would say it's legitimate stuff. Like that, this isn't just like I wasn't appreciated for the genius that I am. Like there's stuff like not being acknowledged ever, which you could take either way, I guess. But that's kind of like the least of people's problems. There's really more just on the higher ups rather than like the working environment, because remember, most of the working environment is like where you live, like my working environment is like in my room, like I'm not on set on a movie studio or anything.
Sure.
But there's some shit, man. Now just I wanna refresh my page here, because it's been a couple hours since we recorded. Have the numbers changed? Yes, they have. So when the person who started the Twitter thread, or at least started the response to what became the Twitter thread, Obscurus Lupa, she released the Google Doc, and it says accounts from around 20 members of Channel Awesome and former management on our various mistreatments over the course of 10 years. Mismanagement, sexism, sexual harassment, negligence, and shady behavior. And I mean, the numbers are going to be different when you check it out, like you listeners at home. But like at the moment I'm reading this was posted at 3:36 a.m. It is right now 12:29 a.m. So it's been like 21 hours. It has like 1.5k retweets, 2.6k likes, and 184 responses. So there's lots of like OMG stuff going on. So the thing with this is, like, there isn't, like, I don't think there's going to be a fucking lawsuit or anything. It's more just like, part of it is just kind of like, how do you say this? It's like, just the feeling of getting it off your chest, I guess. Like, here it is, everybody knows. Like, that kind of thing.
Also, fans need to know that this went on. Like, you shouldn't be supporting something like this.
Yeah, here's the thing, because, like, some of the stuff in the Google Doc I had remembered seeing circulating as rumors. And rumors may or may not be true. But looks like a lot of them were. So, yeah, and also the fans need to know, of course. So, where am I going right now? So this was a thing where it's like, let's see how and if Channel Awesome itself responds, because I've mentioned their, like, habitual radio silence before, other than just like, hey, a new video's up. So a while later they released like they like pinned a tweet which says, we wanted to take a moment to clear the air and acknowledge some of the recent public concerns raised by content creators previously associated with Channel Awesome. And it's 3 quickish paragraphs, but it feels very hand-wavy, and you'll hear it. You'll hear it. So, okay. Channel Awesome is an organization that respects our producer partners and strives to create the best possible environment for everyone. We welcome a diverse community of people joining together to create great videos. For the people who have spoken out about past instances they deemed hurtful or unprofessional, we sincerely regret you felt that way. Our priority has always been to help content partners succeed and provide people a vehicle to follow their dreams. When the need arose, we have distanced ourselves from people who are particularly callous, letting go of significant stakeholders in the interest of keeping our mission at the forefront. Now, before I read the next 2 paragraphs, I know this is hard for you because I'm not showing you this, I'm reading it to you, but did you catch anything noteworthy in that last bit I read?
Particularly callous.
Yeah, that was one of the 2 things I wanted to address. Now, that you could take in a couple of ways, because I have my suspicions of who they're referring to, but I could be wrong about this. So there's, like, the cynical way to take this, and there's the actual positive way to take this. So, like, it's vague in a way that, like, I don't know. So, like, there is that. Although letting go of significant stakeholders, that I think is more... I think I could probably tell you who that is, and that, like, if that's the person they're referring to as callous, then that's not cool. But there was someone else that was a higher up that they did release who was a piece of shit, so there is that. So, like, I can't really help you there. Now, there was one other part. This is the part that I focused on in particular. The callous, I was like, ooh. But there was, like, the part that got me was, I'll read this one more time. For the people who have spoken out about past instances they deemed hurtful or unprofessional, we sincerely regret you felt that way. Like,
it's a non-apology. That's what
that's literally, yeah. Like, somebody actually posted a response to this.
We regret you feel like
I'm sorry you feel
like
that way. Yeah, I'm
sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry that you're a whiner. Yeah, like, yeah. So, like, and actually, you said a non-apology. Yeah, somebody posted, like, in response to this. It's a picture because the message is way too long to be posted on Twitter normally. This
was the kind of crap that when I was working at a bank, they told us to tell customers, like, we're sorry you feel that way, like, that you're not getting...
because God forbid you ever acknowledge blame.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I mean, because acknowledging blame does suck, but I mean, if you're at fault though,
it is the bank's fault. I mean, the bank sets up the system for you to fail it. I mean, come on.
So, but no, like, somebody had responded to this message with, like, a screenshot of Wikipedia, like, the definition of non-apology. Yeah, it's like, ooh. So there were some pretty sassy responses to that were pretty amazing. Anyway, the last 2 paragraphs I feel are a little more PR, but that last one left a bad taste in my mouth. But in the sake of fairness, I'll read the last 2 paragraphs, which are shorter. We appreciate and hear the frustrations of past producers. We're actively taking internal steps to better improve communication with our producers so they can be focused on putting out their great content. And we're open to constructive criticism, the kind that can help us become even better and serve the needs of our community. but criticism that isn't a means to a productive end does little for either the party criticizing or those in the line of fire. That is 100% true, that logic, but, like,
Sure.
they've definitely been on the receiving end of constructive criticism from their producers in the past, and that hasn't gone so well. So, like, either they turned over a new leaf right now, or, I don't know, I'll take this with a grain of salt. But, same goes with we're actively taking internal steps to better improve communication with our producers. Like, we'll see if that happens, but also, dude, like, somebody probably has a screenshot of Channel Awesome from like 5 years ago with all the drop-down menus of all the people that are on the site. Go to the site now.
None of them are there, huh?
Not even close. Like, some of them are, but not even close. So last paragraph. Our focus now is on moving forward with the wonderful team we have and all our dedicated followers. We want to make our collective future the best it possibly can be. We thank our content creators, team, and fans for truly making our channel awesome. Like, capital letters because it's a, play on words. Here's to creating something even better in the future. Now, what kind of sours me on this, even though it's a very positive message, is our focus now is on moving forward. So, like, we're just gonna ignore all this shit as best we can, is kind of how I'm reading this. Now, maybe it's me being cynical, which it could very well be, but, like, I'm pretty sure you want to address a fucking 65-page document of varying grievances, including sexual harassment. To be fair, the higher up who was guilty of that was removed. I'll give them that. But there's still some bad shit going on that, like, they're just like, yeah, well, we want to move forward. Like, it's very, somebody in a Skype chat had posted, like, very ostrich, like the head in the sand. Now I will give this, with the wonderful team we have, I will say, like, a bunch of their team really is, but there are some people who still have complaints against them, which they don't appear to be, like, dealing with. I don't know if they actually are dealing with, but they apparently are not addressing it publicly. Now, at this point, there are hundreds of responses, and I don't know what they are, but when I first checked this, because I happened to catch it, like, 10 minutes after they posted it, like, the responses were one of two things. Number one, this is fucked up, or at best, I love you guys, but this is not a good apology. Or two, wait, what happened? So, like, because not everybody knows this is just on their Twitter. So, I do not see much good coming. Like, this is a very, like, I see what they're trying to do, but this is not a very, like, that settles kind of response. Like, even if you don't know anything going in, it looks like, literally, I'm sorry you feel that way. Like, we sincerely regret you felt that way. Like, that is straight up a non-apology. So, like,
yeah, they're not handling it well at all.
Like,
they're not being empathetic or anything, or addressing anything, really.
Now, I'll give them this. I mean, this is, like, the lowest bar. So, like, this isn't really praiseworthy, but, like, I'm actually kind of surprised they said anything. I really am. But I think at this point it's gotten too big to ignore. Like I said, there were thousands of retweets and likes, and that was just from Lupa. Like, everybody on Channel Awesome was encouraged to retweet or link to that Google Doc. I did as well. And I probably got, like, a couple of responses or something. But, like, she got thousands. That's just her. Lots of other big people probably got thousands of responses, or at least hundreds as well. Like, this shit's moving around. I saw, like, like, there are probably going to be, like, internet articles and videos about this. Like, I guarantee it. It's going to happen. Like, internet articles, we'll see. But, no, actually, I think there is one. I guess what I mean is more mainstream internet articles. We'll see. But, like,
I'm sure there'll be a YouTube explanation of it.
I guarantee, I promise you, somebody's going to make some YouTube giant thing of this. But as far as, like, the content and the Google Doc and the Twitter conversation, I do not guarantee, but I would be willing to bet. And you've seen me at your barbecues. I don't fucking bet. I would be willing to bet that some, like, I mean, maybe not fucking, like, MSNBC, but, like, some like, internet website article that you've heard of would be willing to, like, talk about this. I bet you it's gonna happen. And by the way, 65 fucking pages. To be fair, when you click the doc, at the very top of the doc, it says, here's an abridged, simplified account of all grievances. So if you don't want to actually read 65 pages, if you want, like, Vice, what you were saying, like, how long could it possibly be, then that is... Okay, if you really wanted bare bones, 6 pages, which is still a surprising amount.
That's a ton of stuff. Yeah.
Like, for, like, we're talking, like, this person has a history of being unprofessional, aggressive, immature, and then here's where this person talks about it on page 4 to 5 of the main document. Here's where this person talks about it on page 24 to 25 of the main document. So they basically boiled it down to a list of 11 problems that were described in different scenarios and in different ways by different people. That's what amounted to 65 pages. But if you want to break it down to, this guy's a jerk, this one's incompetent, then it's like 6 pages with citations.
Wow.
But that's... And to be fair, page 1 is only like half a page because they start the list at the top of page 2 to make it look good. But that's still a lot. And by the way, even now as I'm clicking this, I'm still getting the message on Google Docs. Wow, this file is really popular. Some tools might be unavailable until the crowd clears. Like, there was, like, an error in the initial doc, and people had a difficult time fixing it because, like, everybody was, like, choking it up.
Yeah,
like,
everybody
clicked it at once.
Tools, yeah.
It was like a spelling or a word choice, and, like, it was legitimately difficult for people to, like...
Twitch plays Pokemon or something, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I can't go on this website because everybody's going on this... It was registering for fucking spring semester freshman classes all over again. Remember what a nightmare that was at Rutgers? Exactly. I was, like, just F5ing for days, so, like, you could read the Google Doc now, but, like, you might have actually had trouble when it first went up. So if you're like the kind of person who just, like, drinks up drama, then, like 65 pages, man.
I might just check this out.
You like, and you can find this. It's not like, oh, I know,
it's out there.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not telling. Like, Google it, you'll find it. Like, but especially on Twitter, just, like, look up. People have been I think I mentioned this last week. People have been hashtagging Change the Channel. The only problem with Change the Channel is I think that coincidentally also became part of a movement for, like, that video that went viral of, like, every news organization saying the same thing at the same time. Like, they're all scripted, which was disturbing. So, like, that's a much bigger movement. So I don't know how well Change the Channel will work for you, but, like, go to, like, a former Channel Awesome contributors page, and the document is called Not So Awesome. Very easy to find. So I read a bunch of it when it was in its stages of construction, but, like, I did not read 65 pages, so, like, there's going to be a whole bunch of new stuff for me too. But there's, again, some of it is, like, this was a frustrating work environment, but a lot of the stuff is, like, really serious business. And even the frustrating working environment, depending on the context, that also gets into really potentially serious territory, like aggressiveness to the point where, like, we had, like, actual problems, like, on set, like, stuff like that, like, for like, the crossover movies where everyone actually got together, just, like, high stress, like, unprofessional situations. So, like, stuff that I thought was rumors, or, like, maybe that's partly true, like, it looks like there was more truth to it than I thought before I was on the site myself. So you will have your fair share. So I talked about the state of Channel Awesome before, but now, like,
it's really hit the fan.
It's out there. Yeah,
it's a good thing you left because it was a good move, and it's a good thing.
I mean,
that you.
I should have left anyway, but yeah, like, I mean, like I said last time, I personally never really had any drama. I was just kind of like, if I had stayed on, it would be kind of like, so what are you still doing there? Like, I don't think anybody would be like, are you part of the problem? But it would be like, why are you fucking there? So, like, well, I'm not anymore. So, yeah, like, I didn't know that the Google Doc would go out that soon, though. Like, I kind of got out of, like, just in time in that sense. Like, I said this last week, I should have left earlier. Like, I really should have. I stayed on because it was convenient. Like, I'm still just posting my videos, but, like, that was not the right decision. I mean, I better late than never is a fucking weak excuse, but, like, that's what I have to work with. Like, at least I got out. Like, that's a weak defense, but, like, I'm finally out. It happened. So
Gotcha.
yeah, like so this is yeah, like you said, it is at the fan. So I'll see if anything comes of this later. I mean, honestly, I think Channel also would have been better off staying silent because that apology got people even who didn't know what was going on going like, dude, I don't know what this apology is for.
Yeah, it's
but
like
that's
the
not an
EA
apology. Yeah, the EA was like, no, let me tell you what you like, and this was, yeah, I'm sorry you felt that way. So again, even people who didn't know what was going on were like, I don't know what you're referring to, but that is a non-apology. So it's
Yep.
like. So yeah, if only they had kept their PR person from several years back, because she did an actually fucking good job. Guess this wasn't such a good job this time.
Yeah. Well, if I'm sure this situation will continue to bloom. I'm sure we'll comment on if there are any more major developments. But I think
yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
that'll be all of our time that we have this week.
Yes.
Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness and YouTube SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. That helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesday on our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast about our lives and pop culture. And boy, am I tired. Finally, you can find me as vysethebold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, Twitter, and all other kinds of things.
Whatever, man. I'm going to bed. Yeah, I mean, I was working from or I went to work at like 8:50 in the morning. I got there at like 9:40, and I was basically doing stuff until 6. And like, I know that's not the longest work day, but like, I'm working with students, so I had to be on the whole time. It's not like when I was a cashier where it's like I'll sleepwalk through this for 8 hours, even longer. Like, it's mentally challenging, man. I'm freaking burned out. So
I had to telemarket to people who didn't want loans to try to sell them loans from 10 o'clock till 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I will
Don't
still.
talk to me,
I was gonna say I'll still keep my situation. Thank you. So, but I'm still freaking going to bed. So you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, or even selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
All right, everybody. We will catch you next week on Corrective on Tuesday.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.